Howdy folks, welcome to the next video in the 2026 primary election analysis series. On May 19th, there will be 6 states voting that day. Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, and Kentucky have already been reviewed. It's now Oregon's turn. We'll be reviewing their current congressional slate and primary process, followed by spotlights for the candidates sincere in restoring the rule of law and improving our lives. Links to all approved candidates and other referenced news sources or videos will be listed in the video description. Returning viewers know why I make these videos, but if you're new to the channel, here are the cliff notes. Orange man bad, and should have been impeached over a year ago. Our Congress is spineless and doesn't understand Rule 9. We need new Congress members ready to impeach, remove, and convict every criminal in the government and abolish and prosecute ICE for their crimes. Afterwards, if we make it that far, still have a habitable planet, and avoid nuclear Armageddon. Assuming all that, these are the policies the next Congress must fight for. Calls for Trump's impeachment have increased after the threat against Iran. We will see if enough members find their spines to do the right thing. Better late than never. Otherwise, we're just waiting for him to drop dead. Which technically is a plan. He is 79 and decaying a little more each day. Although this is the tactic of spineless cowards. But know this, however Trump is removed from office, our problems never started with Trump, and they won't end with his death. And they certainly won't end if centrist and liberal Epstein-class Democrats, those financed by AIPAC and corporations, the weak and spineless Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries, continue to win their elections. The midterm elections will happen on November 3rd, and the primary elections will narrow down our options in those elections. By not participating, it guarantees the Epstein class another seat in Congress regardless which party wins. To fight and start taking power back, we all must participate in the primary election process and support the candidates who are sincere in fighting for the people. Let's now discuss how our friends in Oregon can do just that. Oregon is a state with an average population size just slightly over 4 million. This gives them 6 seats in the House of Representatives. The governor of Oregon is a Democrat, and all but 1 House seat are held by Democrats. This would feel like more of a victory if all of these representatives actually represented the U.S. people. With the exception of Senator Jeff Merkley, every other congressional member from Oregon is on the take from AIPAC. That's no good. And as we'll discuss soon, there are some very good candidates running to replace these Epstein-class Democrats, but they will only win if you vote for them in the primary elections first. To Oregon's credit, their state's voter participation is higher when compared to most other states. The primary participation average is about 25%, and Oregon's is at 32.4%. Still abysmally low, but not as low as others. In the general election, the participation goes up to 62.7%. Again, higher than the national average of around 50%, but these numbers are still embarrassing when compared to the election participation of other democratic nations. While there isn't a candidate for every seat this election cycle, I have identified 5 seats with candidates earning the secular lefty approved spotlight. There is a slight math problem, though, that you may have already noticed. 5 seats, but I have 6 candidates named. Before discussing those candidates and this math problem, let's first review the primary process the candidates and voters must navigate to win. The information provided from Ballotpedia here informs us Oregon allows the parties to decide who votes in their primaries. As of September 2025, both parties operate with a closed primary system. This forces voters to register with a party if they want to vote for a candidate in their primary election. Many voters would prefer to stay independent and not register with any party affiliation. This rule alone is what keeps millions of Americans from voting and why terrible candidates are the only ones remaining in the November general elections. While you may have many unfavorable views of the Democratic Party, like I do, if you want to support better candidates to make the party better, you will have to change your party affiliation to participate in these primary elections. For the candidates to win their primary, they need to earn a plurality of votes. No minimum is required. There will be no runoff election. Whoever earns the most votes in the primary moves on to the November general election. This next piece of information is critical for eligible voters in Oregon. This is from the National Conference of State Legislatures. If you're not registered to vote, you have 21 days before an election to do so in person, by mail, or online. The election is May 19th, so whether you need to register to vote or just change your party affiliation to Democrat, you have until April 28th to get that sorted out, as shown here on the site Vote411. We will now discuss the candidates that will make the time to register and voting worth the effort. But first, let's get the bad news out of the way and discuss the seats where there aren't any inspiring candidates. The 6th District has no primary challengers to the AIPAC-funded incumbent. The geriatric AIPAC-funded incumbent in the 1st District does have a challenger, but sadly, they provided no evidence to be secular lefty approved. And none of these races had any independent or third-party candidates running either. Or for the few that there were, none had evidence making them worth discussing either. So let's just move on to where there is some hope in the state of Oregon. For this video, I don't have a detailed card made for each candidate. Sadly, just a time limitation as I make these videos. Each candidate supports one or more of the policies shown at the beginning of this video. With the exception of the 2nd District, these are all seats currently held by a Democrat. The main focus on each seat here is who is the best Democrat to win the primary. In the 2nd District, I genuinely can't narrow it down between Don Rassmussen and Mary Doyle. They both support Medicare for All and various other progressive policies. Don and Mary are both endorsed by citizens' impeachment. On one hand, this is great that the district has multiple good candidates running. If they were the only 2 candidates running, then I wouldn't be as concerned. But that isn't the case. There are currently 6 candidates in this race, and 3 of them support progressive policies. Rebecca also supports Medicare for All, but no other important points to mention. Normally, I don't get the luxury of trying to decide which progressive is better, as I'm lucky if there's even one progressive in the race. So looking a little further at other information available, Don Rasmussen has an additional endorsement from the Working Families Party. They also endorsed Republican Andrea Carr running against Cliff in the Republican primary. She isn't a progressive Republican, but certainly a person who would be better than the incumbent. When looking at the campaign finance of the Democratic candidates, Don has raised the most money so far. If the polling in Oregon 2 shows a majority of support going to Don, then I hope Mary and Rebecca consider dropping out and endorsing Don to consolidate support. Likewise, if the support goes towards Mary or Rebecca, then I hope the other 2 consider consolidating their support around the candidate leading in the polls. Of these 3 candidates out of the 6 total, they have the best chance of beating the Republican incumbent in November. In 2024, Cliff won by a little over 30 points. So this seat just might not be winnable. But if we're going to have a chance, we need the best candidate to win the primary, going into the general election. In my opinion, it's either going to be Don or Mary. If I had more time, I would have reviewed any other available information out there. If you live in Oregon's 2nd District, see if any of these candidates are having town halls or other in-person events that you can speak with them directly. That is the best way to learn about your potential representatives and a way of participating in both the process and interacting with your local community. As we get closer to the May 19th election, hopefully the progressive candidates will narrow the choice amongst themselves. Otherwise, the voters better choose one decisively to avoid splitting the progressive vote and allowing a corporatist Democrat to win. An unfortunate situation we've already seen happen several times earlier this year. The next few spotlights will go a bit quicker. In the 3rd District, Jessica Salas is challenging the AIPAC Dem Maxine Dexter. Jessica is endorsed by Citizens Impeachment and Track AIPAC, along with a decent policy page, making her the secular lefty-approved candidate for Oregon's 3rd District. Next in the 4th District is Melissa Bird, with a quad endorsement. Some of you may have already noticed her endorsement from the Working Families Party. Additionally, she has earned the support from Citizens Impeachment, Track AIPAC, and Progressive Victory. She's running against AIPAC-funded Dem Val Hoyle. Voters in Oregon's 4th District, please make the correct decision and vote for Melissa Bird. In the 5th District, Zeva Rosenbaum is running against AIPAC Dem Janelle Bynum. Zeva is also endorsed by Citizens Impeachment and Track AIPAC. Those endorsements, plus her progressive policy platform, make her the secular lefty-approved candidate for Oregon's 5th District. The final seat in Oregon to discuss is the Class 2 Senate seat currently held by Jeff Merkley. I was pleasantly surprised to read on his campaign page that he supports Medicare for All. That, and while he isn't technically endorsed by Track AIPAC, he does have a clean record. With this evidence, I am happy to say that Oregon does have a decent senator representing the people and should be re-elected. I do say this knowing he is 69. At the end of another term, he will be 75. I would have preferred he retired now, but no other candidate running in the primary meets the secular lefty approval. Given his okay voting record, support for Medicare for All, and no other approved candidate alternatives, Jeff Merkley is the secular lefty approved candidate for U.S. Senate in Oregon. Before ending this video, I also want to spotlight a few additional races here and increase their visibility. Back on March 3rd, Texas had their primary election and required candidates to earn a majority of votes to win. In 8 of those races, no candidates won a majority, and the winners will be decided by a runoff election on May 26. 4 of these races have secular lefty approved candidates that I recommend you support and vote for if you can. Next in Michigan, a spotlight for the U.S. Senate race there. Another election poisoned by AIPAC money and establishment misdirection. The best candidate is Abdul El-Sayed, the physician and co-author of the book Medicare for All, A Citizen's Guide. This is the best candidate in that race. Michigan's candidate filing deadline closes on May 26 and votes on August 4th. So there's still some time for this election, but it's important to keep an eye on it now. I talked more about this race in my last Secular Lefty Chat episode that reviewed the Illinois primary results. We need to avoid more losses like we had in Illinois, and if you haven't seen that episode yet, go check it out after this video. Lastly, a shout out for candidate Hunter Gordon, a great progressive and secular lefty approved candidate running in Washington's 1st District against AIPAC Dem Susan Delbene. This is a grassroots campaign not taking any corporate PAC money. If you are in the position to donate, this is a race worth supporting to take down another AIPAC Epstein-class puppet. Oregon votes on May 19th, and these 6 are the secular lefty approved candidates with the best chance of winning in the general election. If you disagree, or if there was any relevant information I missed, let me know in the comments. All approved candidates mentioned will have their campaign pages linked in the video description. Learn more about them. If you're in a position to donate, consider supporting their campaigns. If you'd like to tip the messenger, head on over to my Patreon and help support the channel. Every dollar is greatly appreciated, and if you help me reach my goal, I can do more of these videos full time. And with more time, I can do more research and provide better information. Until then, this is the best I can do. The next states to vote are Indiana and Ohio, voting on Tuesday, May 5th, followed by Nebraska and West Virginia the following Tuesday, May 12th. Then on Saturday, May 16th, Louisiana voters will make their choices. Episodes reviewing their primary candidates are out now. If you know anyone who lives in those states, please share the channel and those videos with them. Oregon is not the only state voting on May 19th. Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, and Kentucky will also be voting and have already been reviewed. Pennsylvania will also be voting and will be the next video to be released on the channel. A state with 17 congressional districts, the research is going to take some time, but I hope to have that out soon. Be sure you're subscribed and ring that bell to be notified of my newest videos. If you found anything I said in today's video useful, please give it a like and share it everywhere. Together, we can make Americans more educated, and hopefully that will result in better election outcomes. Until the next video, please consider checking out my other work on this channel. Any additional watch time and shares will help the channel reach more people and is greatly appreciated. Thank you again for listening. Take care.